Hello class, my name is Shaib Talukdar and my CIS 3367 project is on Pacific Electronic Sales. What I will be doing is analyzing their revenue, expenses, and their overall net income. So the revenue is broken down with revenue per transaction, number of transactions, the number of employees, and the gross revenue. So the gross revenue is equal to the revenue per transaction times the number of transactions times the number of employees. That will give me the gross revenue. The expenses, I have fixed costs, rent and lease, which will cost about $20,000, utilities about $5,000, and administrative costs per month, which is about $1,000. So the total fixed cost comes to $26,000. Next, we have the variable costs, which is the labor hours per month, 500, times the hourly wages were at $18 times the number of employees, which comes out to $450,000. So right now, without any revenue, my net income is negative $476,000. I have a net income goal per month of $250,000. So now I shall use this tool, Goal Seek, to determine the revenue per transaction, which will give me the net income of $250,000. This is done by going to the Data tab and What If Analysis to Goal Seek. I shall set the cell of net income instead of value to $250,000. And the changing cell will be the revenue per transaction. Once I hit OK, it's going to determine that the revenue per transaction has to be $138.29 in order to get to that net income goal of $250,000. Next, I want to compare the number of transactions versus the price. What I'll do in this tab is equal to the net income. Next, I shall format this one is already formatted, so you can't see the net income. Next, what I will do is use the What If Analysis tool again and create a data table. The row input cell, which is going to be the number of transactions, and the column cell, which will be the revenue per transaction. Now this will give me all the scenarios based on number of transaction and price. Next, I'm going to use conditional formatting. This will, now we know there is a net income goal of $250,000. What I will do is highlight anything that is less than $250,000 and make that a red with dark red text. Now I still want to see what when I will make over $250,000, which is the net income goal. And that I will fill with a green. So now it makes it a little bit easier to determine that if I'm at $160, I can still have 95 transactions, and I will achieve that net income goal of $250,000. Next, what I have done is I copied this portion of the sheet into the revenue versus the number of employees. What I have done over here, I have added a scroll tab. So with the scroll tab, this can be done using a developer tool. So I insert the scroll tab and I format the control to cell C4, which is the revenue per transaction. And the current value is 134, the minimum value is 120, and the maximum value is 160. I have done the same thing and created one for the number of employees. Current value is at 49, minimum value is 45, maximum value is 60 with an increment change of 1. So now I can see what the net income will be if I were to have 120 all the way to $160 per transaction. And I can compare that with the number of employees, which is 45, which will give me a net income of 289 and maximizing at 394 with about 60 employees. This helps to show the different scenarios in terms of the revenue per transaction versus the number of employees that I can have. So this will help me determine if I should hire more in order to increase overall net income. Lastly, I have added a profit efficiency sheet. So with this, I have the different inventory. So the different products that I have is computers, tablets, phones, cameras, television, and appliances. Inventory of 300, 200, 300, 200, 400, and 400 respectively. And over on this tab, I have the unit prices, the unit cost, the profit, and the profit rate. The profit rate is basically the divided by the profit versus the unit price. This helps to show the exact margin I will get on each product. Over on this side, this chart, I have the number of units to sell, units left, the gross sales, gross profit, and the profit rate. I've already done this, but the total sales is basically the addition of all the gross sales, and the total profit is determined by the addition of all the profits. Lastly, I have the profit goal of $250,000. So there's another tool in data which has to be added, which I have already added on the options tab. Add-ins to Solver add-in. So now, to use Solver, I hit this tab on Analysis, and now I've already done this, the Changing tab, Changing Variables, which is, setting the objective of G13, and then the profit goal of and hit the value, $250,000, which is the goal, and then the changing cells would be the units to sell. Lastly, I've added 3 constraints. One, that H5 to H10 has to be an integer. Next, I5 to I10 has to be greater than 0. So this will make sure that I don't have any negative inventory. Lastly, I hit solve, and it shows me the number of units the number of units to sell, as well as the number of units left in order to get to that total profit of $250,000. Lastly, I have added a report, so it shows me the different constraints that I added, as well as the variable tabs, and it shows me the original value and the final value. So overall, with this project, I have determined the overall net income goals and the different ways to increase efficiency. And lastly, the units that I'm selling, the product that I'm selling, how to be to increase overall efficiency to achieve the profit goal. Thank you, class, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.